only been in the competition for 5 or 6 years, but Choco got a hold of that club after Jack Cale and really grew the standards of the club. And Shawnee can talk about that in a minute. But when we came to Hawthorn, I'd always held Hawthorn in such high regard. I never played in a winning side against Hawthorn in a 10-year career because they were just the absolute iconic side through the 80s and early 90s. And so I had them on a pedestal, but when I arrived at Hawthorn, our standards and that sort of stuff were well below what I had my expectations of them. Yet I'd just been to Port Adelaide that their expectations were just huge. So we just had to go right back to basics. And to be fair, it was a pretty autocratic approach in the first 1 or 2 years that, no, these are the standards required, and I drove it pretty hard. But once they understood the standards, that's when the Mitchells and the Hodges and the Dixons and the Vandenbergs and these sort of guys carried the standards, and the Crawfords, the Crows. There was a whole heap of guys that accepted what the new standard was, and then they just drove it, and that helped us win silverware in 2008. And then we fell away a bit, and then Hodgie and those guys got it going again, and we had another period of success a little bit later. You'll go, lad.
Yeah. I met Clark when he first came on board at Port in 2002. Yeah, I think when he came on as assistant coach. So I think he was my line coach straight up, forwards coach. And we were able to bond straight away. And obviously part of his role at the time was building bonds with players and making sure that, we develop as players, but also people off the field. And then fast forward to when I come to Hawthorn, the same thing happened, although I was a bit older, and we continued that bond. And like you said, our families have become close friends, and we've been able to continue on the journey. And it's a nice way to go out, and with Clark on the same day.
All your teammates say you never train, but did you just train smarter than them?
Yeah, they like to exaggerate things a little. I do train, and I do enjoy it, but it's more quality over quantity. So obviously, once I had the serious knee surgery and serious ankle surgery and a bit of wear and tear, the doctors really look after the players here. The coaching group know exactly the players have been looked after, and they never question the programs players are on, because they know there's a lot of time and effort, individualised programs, especially when you get 30 plus. But yeah, you miss 1 or 2 little drills here and there, and one extra rep on the end of pre-season running, and they think you don't train, which is good. So it's part of the footy banter.
Have you seen Allison develop as a pacer over the years? Do you feel he's still got a lot left to offer, perhaps another club down the track?
Yeah, well, he mentioned before that he's had to evolve with the times, and obviously assistant coach at Port, and then he gets the senior role, so obviously has to change there and become the head guy. And I think looking from afar, when he first left and came to Hawthorn, he obviously had to change a few things, and he was changing their game style and game plans. And then going forward, obviously he had a lot of good players at his disposals where he can become a little bit more experiments with the playing group. But he'd always ask the playing group, he'd go away to England and visit the soccer over there, or come back and then sit down and say to the playing group, what do we think about this? Should we try this? Let's give this a crack. And if it works in the first 5 or 6 weeks, we'll stick with it. If it doesn't, we'll change. And he's had those ideas. He wanted to want to innovate the game plan and take risks. And I think it's no reason why. It's not strange to the players that we've had success, because he's always been at the forefront of change and wanting to be the best and be the first to try change. So, though there was a few things we probably questioned at the start.
There's a few stuff-ups along the way.
along the way, but I think that's a part of the bond that he grows with the players. And you think you have more buy-in when you involve the players in those decisions.
You're taking the balls out. You think it's been a pretty tough year, but over the last month, the season could have fallen away, I guess, but 3 wins in a row. Coaching the balls out.
Yeah, obviously we didn't get off to the right start, and then we got to the halfway point, and again, like always does, we have a review and see where we're going well and where we need to improve. And we made some changes to the way we want to play and different things we do every year. And we're finishing the year off a lot better. You know, we wish we would have started that way, but you can't predict these things. And but we're finishing off nicely. We've still got one more game to go, and hopefully the players can take that into pre-season with a bit of positive thinking that what they did in the second half of this year can help launch them into pre-season.
If Clarko pops up in another polo in a year or two, will strike you strange, do you think?
I'm going to try and pull him out of retirement.
I'm not too sure. I'll just let the big man, or the little man, rest for a bit. He's going to take some time off, and then I think he's going to evaluate then. But yeah, we'll see what he does.
Clarko, can I just ask you, obviously you talk about the relationships but in all your time here, is there something after today that you're going to miss? Either walking down the stairs, walking past the Kennedy statue, or a certain person, and what is it about? Because you're so enshrined in Hawthorn now. Is there something that you're going to, that routine's now gone?
I don't know, because I haven't left yet. That'll probably come in 2 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, 6 months' time. From what I can gather from others that have left roles, it's when the team runs out the next year and you're no longer in charge of the team, or you're no longer playing in the team, that's where the void seems to be at its most significant. So I'm yet to experience that. So we'll find out someone down the track. But I know we've both given a hell of a lot to this footy club, but this footy club's given a hell of a lot to us too. It's been a really, really strong bond on both sides. But we're both, even though it's a little bit precarious what's going to happen next for us both, we're both really excited about what the next chapter might bring, and some of that chapter for me in particular, and I think the same for Sean. It's an enormous demanding role to play at the highest level or coach at the highest level for a long period of time. Part of that excitement for us both is just to have a spell for a little while, and just that spell might be for, in my case, might be 12 months or 2 years, and it might be that it's forever. I don't know. I need to get into the next few weeks and just see where it all pans out for me. But we've loved our involvement with this footy club, and prior to that with Port Adelaide. We're both really, really fortunate to be involved in two great clubs that, just fortunately for us, we've been involved in them at really exciting eras for both those clubs. And we both got great mates at Port Adelaide, and we've obviously firmly entrenched some relationships here at this club, and that's probably the beauty of it. We've said all along, it's not about being rich in terms of what's in your bank account. It's being rich in terms of the way that you live your life and the relationships that you've got. And we've got some great relationships with some people at both clubs that will be everlasting for us.
Will you rule out coaching at all next year, do you think, Alex? Or is that something that's not on your horizon at all? Or
yeah, no. Well, I'm nearly a little bit embarrassed to talk about it, to be fair, because whatever has been said in the last 3 or 4 weeks has changed so much, and it's nearly whatever you say, you just can't take it as gospel. But my sincere intention right at this point in time, and has been for the last 4 to 6 weeks, now that I'm no longer coaching Hawthorn, and just see what that rest will do, whether it will reignite some real passion to get involved in the game again, or actually take the opportunity to go overseas. It's a little bit difficult at the minute given the environment, of course, but take the opportunity to go overseas and explore some things and do some things that my wife and I have never done before, because we've been so heavily involved in footy, and see where the next chapter of our life takes us.
How are you feeling now that you've made the decision, and now that it's a year, like 21 years or 21 people, it's a bloody long time to be a professional athlete. If your body is there, I don't know, you can eat what you want, you can drink what you want now. But is that something that you're looking forward to doing?
Well, I'm not looking. I'm looking forward to obviously the break. I won't miss the skin fold tests or the time trials.
or eating lettuce for a whole pre-season.
Yeah, I know. So I won't miss that stuff, but I will miss the change room stuff, the banter, those things, the pre-season camps. We were talking about it yesterday, where you get to bond and hang out with the players. So that's the stuff I will miss. But yeah, I'm unsure what the future holds in terms of. I've got to replace the void that footy's going to leave. I've had a longer career than I expected. I've got to transition, and I've reached out to a number of ex-players who are mates, and just asked for their opinions and thoughts on what can I look forward to, some of the things I need to stay clear of, and to try make sure that my transition is as smooth as possible into life after footy. And I don't really know how I'm going to adapt to that. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but also exciting. So we'll just see what happens.
Really disappointed on retiring because I heavily feel like the same place.
Yeah, Eddie's been through a lot over the last, through his playing career, and obviously going through the Walker stuff with who's a close mate of his has been very, very stressful for him. I've always tried to help in this area and tried to make clubs and the AFL a better place, and it's an ongoing fight, and it's one that the players are up for, and we're going to continue to try and make the AFL and a better place. So it's not done and dusted by any means, and Eddie's on his own path now after footy, life after footy, putting those things into place now as well. So we'll see how that goes. I'm just working through now what life after footy entails for me. So we're still working through that. So we'll see.
I think it's a pretty good story, isn't it? Like two kids from Mallee Park playing their last game in the same round, not against each other, but I think we've all got to take as the whole game now. If this guy Eddie Betts, Adam Goods before these guys hasn't been able to get the message through strongly enough in this AFL platform yet. The AFL platform is a really powerful platform on social change, and I think we all need to take up the role and responsibility. I said to our players yesterday when we were acknowledging Sean's contribution to the game and to our club. Going back to Polly Farmer and Barry Cable and their influence on this competition, the most significant thing that's happened to our game in the last 50 years is that these guys have brought so much excitement and they've been able to educate us about their culture, the oldest culture in the land, in the world, in fact, and just how much it's enhanced our game and enhanced our society. But it can no longer be their own people that are trying to fight for their own cause. It needs to be all of us fighting for that, and that needs to be worldwide, really. But right here in Australia, it's the most significant one that sits right in front of us of what we can do about it. And as an AFL code, we're going to try and push that as hard as we possibly can.
Back with your journey, was bringing in the cluster defence, like those cluster, huge risk. We played a game against Port Adelaide, in actual fact, and when Campbell, Brown and Crody were playing with us. I can't remember what year it was, but we said, this zoning in clusters is working okay for us. Let's try it at centre bounces as well. So we're the centre bounce. No one was picking up an opponent, and Port kicked 7 goals out of the centre bounce in the first quarter. Wasn't going too well. Somehow we aborted at quarter time smartly, and somehow got ourselves back into the contest and won that game of footy. But listen, you've got to take risks in life, whether it's in footy or anything that you do in life, and it's always uncomfortable because any risk is actually exploring change in essence, and we're always prepared to be risk takers. I've had a lot of great people around me, whether it's David Rath and Chris Fagan and Brendan Bolton, Damien Harvick, Todd Viney. We always had a really great team of people that it was never ever, despite the senior coach perhaps getting the plaudits, it was always a team of people, and we've still got it now. With Rob McCartney and Chris Newman and Sam Mitchell and the coaching group that we got here together. It's all about coming up with an idea and then exploring whether or not we think it can work. Now it hasn't worked too well in the last couple of years. That's why I've been shown the door, and it's time for a different sort of change to the club, and that's someone that passed the baton. Take the club in a little bit of a different direction. But our club has never been afraid of doing that, and we've never been afraid of doing that within the club. So that brings the opportunity for success, but it also brings the opportunity for failure, and we've had both. Just on the quirkiness, was the Kilda shark, was that the greatest ad-lib of your career?
Yeah, well, as Mick Martin calls him, Jack Nail. I think Jake wrote an article in the paper that morning in the Age, talking about this juggernaut of the, Geelong would just had taken all before them that year. I think they'd only lost one game for the year against Collingwood, and it was like this shark. You had to try to stop it. So probably got Jake to thank for that analogy, but because I just jumped on it. I didn't, and that's quite often the case with coaches. It's not something that you plan on a Monday or a Tuesday for that particular game. Sometimes, I do anyway. I'll leave it till the last possible moment before I actually decide on, because there's so many things going on in the game that they don't want to push the message too hard too early, and then something happened that message is no longer pertinent. So you win some. I've had some stinkers too, mate. One about an ice skating ballerina,
yes.
which I thought it was one of my best bits of work, and I'm engrossed with this video, and I turned around to address the players, and there'd already been Chinese whispers that appalled with this particular presentation, that they said standing ovation. So as I turned to address them, they all stood up, taking the mickey out of me that I could put something like that to them. But you have some wins and losses with it, but probably more losses than wins, to be fair. That was back in the Guerra and Hodge were the ones sitting in the back row. Hollywood Boulevard, we call it. All the big wigs sitting in the back row, and there's this Chinese whispers that said, "This is no good, but let's give him a standing ovation anyway." So I said, "Get out of here, you blokes!" So the message didn't hit home, that one.
Broad in terms of the media, over your time, how have you found your relationship with us and with the broader media? And I guess it seems like part of you often like to be in control of the message. And how have you found that throughout your entire period?
Well, it's a difficult one. I mean, the media are a key reason why the game is such a popular game. We as a club and the competition need you guys. I mean, broadcasting is the most significant revenue stream for the game. So we as a club need, and as a competition, need to use the media as best we can to stretch to our tentacles to every different part of the continent, let alone the globe. So there's a very, very important role for them, but there's also a very, very important role to not allow the outside noise to infiltrate what needs to happen within the walls of your footy club. And sometimes the outside media can be really good for a club and a particular player, and sometimes it can be not so good. And so we try to keep a protective layer around our players, because the reality of AFL footy is that this is a very, very tough game. The reality of what happens in the media is there likes to be a lot of focus on the individual. And so we try as best we can. It's not about the individual, whether you're in a family, whether you're in a church group, whether you're in a sporting club, whether you're in a business. Very, very often it's not about just one person. It's about a group of people. Yet when a story is promoted, it's usually about that one person, and we try as best we can to keep reality with all our players' lives and those within our footy club, that this is about team, it's about club, it's about giving to others, and it's very, very little about the individual. And that's just an ongoing challenge. I've probably been overprotective in that sense of, but happy to be that way, because I look at the product of the people that we bring through our footy club, whether it's coaches, players, administrative staff, volunteers. We see the product that comes out at the other end, and we're very, very proud of who they become in terms of men and women and mothers and fathers and husband and wives. We're really proud of the final product.
I was pretty worried about the pressure on senior coaches that's going on at the moment. It's obviously always been that way, but are you a little bit concerned about what's going on at the moment?
Listen, it's a tough caper, and at this footy club, once again, all the focus seems to be on the senior coach when you have success, the plaudits come for the senior coach, and when you don't go so well, then the daggers come too. When certainly within our footy club, they're
there hasn't been a key decision made in football for the last 17 years that I've been involved in, unless it's been run by a football subcommittee. So that has never allowed the senior coach or anyone else in the organisation to take power over any individual significant decision in your football department. And so it's a group of us, and it's a shame in a sense that we haven't been able to get past the very fact that it's a group of people that are contributing to the success or otherwise of a footy club rather than just one. And as much as we possibly can, we've tried to downplay the significance of the senior coach and just made it about a group of us, including what Shawnee said before, when we're trying to make change and trying to ask how we should go and navigate the new path forward. Let's include our players as much as we can in that. And, so we try to do things together as much as we possibly can because, as I've mentioned before, that's the way life is lived.
Not having a crowd to say goodbye to on the weekend, is that hurt or is it just life?
No, that's just the way that it is. We're there's one part of it where Shawnee or I are just really, really privileged to still be involved in the game. There's plenty of others. My heart just bleeds for those in the travel industry and those in the hospitality industry that are just getting ripped apart. It nearly brings you to tears to see what's going on in other industries, and we're concerned that we can't have 30 or 40,000 at the MCG. I mean, geez, we can't be that precious. We're just enormously grateful that we've got roles that can, in the view of our governing body, the AFL, feel like we've got a role to play for society by continuing to play our game and give some joy to people in some tough times. If we can play some sort of small role in that, then we'll do that. And if that means empty crowds, empty stadiums, we'll do it. We're just very fortunate to be able to continue to do what we do.
Sean, just from your gig, has other clubs sort of asked you about being an assistant coach or anything like that?
No, not coaching. Coaching doesn't. Not right now.
You see what it's done to me.
Like you said before, take some time away. But no, coaching doesn't interest me right at this point in time. So I'll step away and go into some other role. But yeah, at the moment, something might change in the future. But for now, no coaching.